As the great Cicero might say, sediasque. I actually have no idea what Cicero would say, but we have to throw a little bit of Latin in there somewhere. The God who is love is recognized by his wounds. And we are recognized in the wounds of God. The God whose love is recognized by his wounds, and we're recognized in the wounds of God. Because have you noticed that whenever the apostles see Jesus after the resurrection, their first reaction is confusion, fear, terror, and disbelief. They don't know who it is, and then they don't believe it's Jesus, and then they're terrified. And have you noticed what Jesus does every time in the Gospel of John, the Gospel of Luke? He shows them his hands and his feet. He shows them his glorified wounds. And it's when they see his glorified wounds that they recognize him as Jesus. So the God who is love is recognized by his wounds. And this is the fulfillment of Isaiah 49. Think of the book of Isaiah chapter 49, when the prophet Isaiah receives this revelation from God. And God says, Israel will say, our God has forgotten us. And then God says, can a mother forget her child, be without tenderness for the child of her womb? Even if she should forget, I will never forget you. And then he says, remember, see, I have written you on the palms of my hands. The wounds of Jesus after the resurrection, isn't that the ultimate proof that God really has literally written us on the palms of his hands? That he loves us that much, that he died for us and that he rose for us. So the God who is love is recognized by his wounds. And we're recognized in the wounds of God. There's a very beautiful image in St. Faustina's Diary of Divine Mercy, where God the Father reveals to Faustina that the only way he can see the world now is through the glorified wounds of his Son. So think about that image for a minute. God the Father looking at the world, he sees the world, creation, all of us through the glorified wounds of Jesus. So we're recognized through the glorified wounds of Christ. And then there's one more step. That our own wounds, when we bring them to Jesus, they become glorified too. And our own glorified wounds become a conduit of grace for the world. Think about number 3 of our constitutions, which talks about proclaiming the merciful love of Christ to every person and bringing them to a redemptive encounter with the Lord. How does that happen? Above all, it happens through our union with the Lord, forms our own sins, our own weaknesses through his grace to become this entry point of mercy for the world. So our own glorified wounds, united with the glorified wounds of Jesus, then become this entry point of grace for others, today, tomorrow, and until the end of time.